At 23, Emma Raducanu has already made solid headlines in the world of tennis, but her life off court is just as trendy as her sports life. Who is she, and why does the internet suddenly care about her? Let's find out. There is something about Emma Raducanu that the internet cannot stop circling back to. Even now in 2026, 5 years after that September night at Flushing Meadows that rewrote the record books, people still want to know who she is dating, how much she is worth, and what her actual life looks like behind the brand partnerships and the careful Instagram grid. The honest answer is that she is single. She is richer than most people imagine, and her life is considerably more interesting than most tennis players her age allow themselves to have. She ended 2025 ranked number 29 in the world. She is 23 years old, and she is, by her own account, just getting started. Toronto gave Emma Raducanu her birth date, November 13th, 2002, but it barely got to keep her. Her father Ian is Romanian, a finance professional with the kind of quiet authority that shaped how his daughter approaches competition. Her mother Renee Jai is Chinese. Before Emma turned 2, the family relocated to Bromley, a borough in South London, and that is where she grew up, where she still lives, and where she first picked up a tennis racket at the age of 5. The story goes that her parents were having lessons at the Bromley Tennis Academy and brought a reluctant toddler along. She was not immediately enthusiastic. Then something clicked, the way things click for people who are built for a particular thing before they know what it is. Ian and Renee were not the type to let talent drift. Emma's teenage years were structured around excellence. She sat A-levels in mathematics and economics. Boyfriends were not part of the plan. Her parents had a strict policy on that front, one she has spoken about in interviews with a mixture of mild exasperation and what sounds like genuine retrospective gratitude. Her mother has since evolved from enforcer to confidant. Emma has described Renee as her best friend, which says something about how that period ended. She grew up between London and a wider sense of the world that her background gave her. Romania for family visits, Canada as a natal ghost, China as a cultural thread, Britain as home. That multiplicity of identity became, in time, the thing that made her story feel both particular and universally gripping. None of that background, though, fully prepared the world for what happened at the 2021 US Open. She walked in as a wildcard ranked 150th, barely 18, with fewer than 10 WTA main draw matches to her name. But she walked out as a Grand Slam champion without dropping a single set across 10 matches. She became the first British woman to win a Grand Slam singles title since Virginia Wade in 1977, and even the people paid to be cynical about sport could not locate the appropriate note of skepticism. It was simply real, and it was extraordinary. From that point on, the path became more complicated in ways that were not always obvious if you were just watching the scoreboards. There were long stretches where the story was not really about tennis at all, but about recovery, shoulder surgeries, wrist surgeries, time away from the tour that always lasted a little longer than people expected. Each comeback required patience, and patience is not something the outside world is very good at offering to young athletes. In between those interruptions, there was the constant reshuffling around her. Coaches coming in, coaches moving on, different voices, different training approaches, different ideas about how her game should evolve. From the outside, it could look like instability, but from the inside, it was a search, a process of figuring out what actually worked for her rather than what people assumed should work. At her peak, she reached world number 10, which placed her firmly among the elite players on the tour. But rankings in tennis can move quickly when injuries break the rhythm of a season. The expectation that followed her breakthrough only made those dips feel more dramatic. When the ranking slid back down, the conversation around her changed almost overnight, and yet she kept showing up. That might be the most telling detail of the last few years. She kept entering tournaments, kept rebuilding her fitness, kept trying to stitch together full seasons again. By the end of 2025, she had played 50 matches, which is the kind of volume that suggests a body finally holding up again. The ranking climbed back to number 29, strong enough to arrive at the 2026 edition of the Australian Open as a seeded player rather than someone fighting through the early rounds. Since she went professional, the tabloid tennis around her love life has been almost as relentless as the actual tennis. As of early 2026, she is single, and everything observable confirms it. Her focus appears genuinely trained on the season ahead. The most substantiated relationship in her recent past was with Carlo Agostinelli, whom she dated through 2023 into 2024. Agostinelli is the son of Robert Agostinelli, co-owner of the Rhone Group, a private equity firm. The two were photographed together at Paris Fashion Week and on various holidays. The split became apparent when he was blocked on Instagram, which is apparently how these things are confirmed in 2024. Carlos Alcaraz and Cameron Norrie have both been thrown into the rumor cycle purely on the basis of proximity. She and Alcaraz are contemporaries boys who rose through tennis at similar speeds and get asked about each other constantly. Both have been politely clear that it is nothing more than friendship. Her parents' teenage no-boyfriend rule did shape her relationship with privacy. She does not volunteer information, and the things she keeps to herself stay kept. However, what is perhaps more surprising than her romantic restraint is how she actually lives day to day. For someone whose net worth sits somewhere around $15 million, the lifestyle is almost disarmingly normal. She lives in a renovated townhouse in Bromley, not far from where she grew up. The house is calm, grounded, familiar, the sort of place where you can imagine someone making tea, sitting down with a book, and disappearing for an afternoon without feeling the need to post about it. The cars are where she allows herself a bit of visible luxury. She is a Porsche brand ambassador, and unusually, she actually drives them like someone who loves them: a 911 Carrera GTS Cabriolet, a Cayenne, a Range Rover Sport. Fast machines that are not just props, but part of something she genuinely enjoys. She has talked about loving speed and the feeling of control behind the wheel, and she has gone karting at Formula One circuits with the excitement of someone who would probably do it even if nobody was watching. Fashion is another world she moves through with quiet confidence. Her relationship with Dior has lasted for years now. During Fashion Week, she appears at shows looking perfectly at ease, as if the front row has always been part of her life. And then, just as easily, she goes right back to jeans and trainers the moment the cameras are gone. Music and curiosity round everything out. Piano has stayed with her since childhood. She reads constantly. When the tour takes her to new cities, she actually explores them, rather than treating each stop like nothing more than a stadium and hotel room. The $15 million estimate did not appear out of nowhere. It is the result of several income streams moving at the same time and reinforcing each other. Prize money is the obvious starting point. Through the WTA, she has earned roughly $4.7 million in official prize money, and when you convert the career total into pounds, it comes out at more than $4.5 million. That figure alone places her ahead of almost every British woman who has played the sport professionally. It is already a remarkable achievement when you remember how young she still is and how early she arrived on the biggest stages. But in modern tennis, the money rarely stops at prize winnings. Endorsements quickly become the second engine, and in her case, that engine is powerful. Her list of partners reads like a roll call of global brands: Nike, Dior, Porsche, Wilson, HSBC, Tiffany and Company Vodafone, Evian, British Airways. When you combine deals like that, the annual endorsement income comfortably moves into 7 figures. What makes it interesting is the way she has approached those partnerships. Behind the scenes, she has set up Harbor 6, a business entity that handles her commercial activity with a level of structure that is not always common for athletes in their early 20s. It gives her team a way to manage contracts, appearances, and long-term strategy rather than treating each deal as a one-off opportunity. And by most reports, she is selective. Not every offer makes the cut. She tends to lean toward brands she can connect to in a way that feels believable, and there have been deals she chose to walk away from because the fit was not right. For an athlete whose seasons have sometimes been interrupted by injury, that kind of selectivity sends a quiet message. It suggests she is thinking about sustainability and long-term value, rather than grabbing every opportunity that appears. At 23, with a Grand Slam already won and a second act very much in progress, the real story here is not the boyfriend question, but the ongoing negotiation between extraordinary ability and the structural difficulties of sustaining a tennis career at the highest level while the world watches and speculates and manufactures narratives around your personal life. She has a coach who knows how to build players for the long haul. This era season is about whether the version of Emma Raducanu currently taking shape turns out to be the one that lasts. All signs suggest it will be worth watching. That's it for today's video. Thank you for watching till the end. What do you love the most about Emma Raducanu? Tell us in the comments. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.